Three girls watching TV shows, and some of it's good and some of it blows. And when we finish the movies, yeah, we need a scotch, and we turn to each other and say, what did we just watch? And we're live.
Hello, and we're back.
We're back.
Wow, guys, we watched a classic movie today. Also, I'm sorry, we should probably introduce our guests. We have guests today.
Yay! Guests.
Yay! We have our friend Lizzy Flood, Gwen Sachs, and Isabel Jabley with us today.
Yeah.
You guys want to say something?
Hi. Hello.
Just silence.
Hi.
They will not talk unless we speak.
We will not speak unless spoken to. That's the plan.
Wow. My brain's a little fried, honestly.
Yeah, we watched a classic, would we call this rom-com? I don't know, maybe.
It's calm part.
There's not much calm.
It's just much comedy as it is in Trolls 2. And
that's true.
I think there's some unintentional calm.
Yeah.
It's not meant to be a rom-com, but it is.
I would say like
YA
romance.
Yes.
There you go.
Our
Fantasy.
favorite YA young adult romance, Twilight. Woo! Let's give it up to Twilight.
Took me right back to middle school.
When did it come out? 2007?
Yeah,
I don't know, but I think I read it in like 7th grade.
Yeah, I definitely read it when I was in middle school.
Same.
We wanted to go back to our roots this week, so we watched Twilight, and we remembered never to go back to our roots. So,
like, I had a good time, but I also was like a little drunk the first like third of the movie, and then I started to sober up, and I was having like less fun by the end, but I was still having fun. So, yeah, very middle school vibe.
yeah, so I'm gonna give the classic synopsis. I'm not gonna go that, and I wrote a lot of detailed notes, but I'm just gonna skip because everyone knows.
Everyone knows Twilight.
Everyone knows Twilight.
Everyone gets the gist of it.
But I think I need to start with the opening scene. And the opening scene, I'm sorry, Walt just walked past me, and I was like, "What's that?" And the opening scene is a deer being chased by an unknown predator, with Bella talking, being like, yeah, this is just the circle of life, man. And Bella is our main character, Bella Swan. She is leaving Phoenix, Arizona, which is where her mother and stepdad lives, because her mother and stepdad want to like travel the world, because the stepdad is a minor league baseball player. So she's gonna go move in with her dad in Forks, which is constantly covered with clouds. Her narration, that's her words, not mine, in Forks, Washington. So her dad's name is Charlie, and he's the chief of police. So we know how Charlie is. So they're really awkward together, and because they haven't seen each other in a while, even though she used to take trips in the summer, but she hasn't done that in years. And the best thing about Charlie is that he doesn't hover. Again, Bella's words, not mine. So then there's another character introduction with Billy and Jacob Black, who are like they are local, they're Native American, and they live on the reservation, which is close here in La Push, which is an actual like tribe, which we can like talk about that later, about Stephanie Meyer using that.
I didn't know that.
So, and they give her a car, and Jacob Black, who is played by the love of my life, Taylor Lautner, has a horrible wig on the whole entire time. And it's also, fun fact, Taylor Lautner has like 0.1% Native American in him. He's just mostly like other things, which I did not know until recently as well. So again, they give Bella a truck, teach her how to drive it, and it's the first day of school, and it's March. And basically all the boys are in love with Bella the first day. There's Eric, who is the paper guy, and he's cool, he's fun, he says chillax. He's like, let me take pictures of you, and Bella's like, absolutely not, please leave me alone. And then there's Mike, who she hits in the head with a volleyball, but Mike is instantly smitten by the girl who hits him in the head with a volleyball. And then Anna Kendrick's character comes in, because you also forgot that Anna Kendrick was in this movie. And her name is Jessica. And Jessica's kind of jealous of Bella because she is getting Mike's attention. So then they're in the cafeteria and Bella's hanging out with her new friends. And then enters the Cullens. And the Cullens are wearing all white and they walk in slow motion. And Jessica basically just introduced the Cullens like, this is Emmett and Rosalie. And this is Jasper and Alice. And they look really weird, but they're all hot. So you're like, you ignore that a little bit. And she explains that Carlisle, who's their dad, basically just fosters children, but they end up all dating each other. And they're like, wow, I wish Carlisle would adopt me. And everyone's like, oh, that's a little weird. And then Edward comes in. He's not wearing white. He's just wearing like a normal blue shirt. But Bella and him instantly lock eyes. And you know what happens next, ladies. So Bella goes to her science class and stands in front of a fan. And sorry, my cat is doing crazy thing. Oh my God. Hold on. I have to pause it for a second. He just got on something that he's... Okay. So Bella stands in front of a fan. It blows her smell in Edward's direction and he reacts violently, like he's going to like barf. And she's like sniffing her armpits because she's like, do I smell really bad? But no, it's just Edward. And when the bell rings, he runs out and he tries to get his class change to a different class, but all the classes are full. So he says he just will bear it because he's a good guy, I guess. So hold on. So Bella eats dinner with her Charlie, her dad, at a local diner. And the diner, she meets some of his friends. And I don't remember the guy's name, but he's important because he comes back later. But it's like a fisherman guy. And so then she calls her mom. They talk on the phone. She talks about how she doesn't really like forks, but it's gonna grow on her eventually. And next day she wants to confront Edward and why he was such a dick earlier, but he doesn't show up for like the next 3 days. And then the movie cuts to a man at a factory being chased by like unknown assailants. And then it comes back to Charlie at his house, Bella in his house, being like, I have to check out. There was an animal attack and the local security guard guy just got mauled and is dead. And Bella's like, oh, okay, bye, Dad. So then the next day, Eric tries to ask Bella out to the prom, but Mike interrupts him and she pretends like she doesn't hear him because that's how she is. But good thing is that Edward is back in class and he apologized for being so weird. And they kind of flirt a little bit and there's a lot of like sexual tension for no reason. And a lot of lip biting, a lot of just like
heavy
little
breathing.
moans, heavy breathing. He asks her really personal questions like, why are you here? Who's your mom? Who lives in Phoenix, Arizona? Like
how do you feel about your stepdad?
How do you feel about your stepdad? And she's like, answers all these questions. She takes them in stride. And then she's like, hey, your eyes are like a different color than the last time I saw them. And he was like, that's because of fluorescent lights. And then he walks away. And she's like, okay. So the next day, she's standing in front of her car. And it's been raining because this Forks and it rains all the time. So Tyler, who's a character I forgot to introduce, but he's just the only Black guy besides Laurent, who comes in later. And he swerves to miss a car that's backing out, skids sideways. The van skids sideways, aiming for Bella. But thank God, Edward comes in and rescues her and pushes the van away. But she's like, how how are you strong enough to push the van away? But he doesn't answer that. He just walks away while all the 15 people who saw him run over there are like, that's a little weird. I guess he was there the whole entire time. So Bella's in the hospital. Charlie says that he's going to take Tyler's driver's license away. So is he profiling? Maybe.
Definitely.
But so we are introduced to Carlisle, the hot doctor. He just looks into Bella's eyes and says, "You might have PTSD from this, but you get better." I'm sure. And then Bella leaves the hospital room and overhears Rosalie and Edward and Carlisle talking, and Rosalie is upset that Edward saved Bella's life. I guess she should have let her die. I don't know.
That was his mistake.
And then Bella's like, "Hey, Edward, can I talk to you for a second?" And she's like, "Yo, you gotta stop that car with your bare hands." He was like, "No, I didn't. You just misremembered. Actually, you hit your head." So yeah. And he gaslights her, and then he says, she's like, "No, I definitely did not hit my head." And he's like, "No one will believe you, Bella." And she leaves. And Bella's like, "Okay." So, and then there's a scene where Bella's dreaming and she dreams of Edward standing in her room watching her sleep. But that's just really what happens. He actually does watch her sleep for many months before they start dating. And then Mike tries to awkwardly ask her out to the prom, and she says she is busy that day. She's going to Jacksonville because that's where her mom is right now. And he's like, "Can you just move that to another day?" And she said, "No, the tickets are non-refundable. Maybe you should ask Jessica out." And he's like, "Okay." So they're going on a science trip with the cool teacher, and Edward asks her another personal question that he overhears about, like, who's in Jacksonville. And she's like, she doesn't question how he knows this about Jacksonville. She's like, my mom and my stepdad. And they talk a little bit. He kind of insults her quite a bit, and she's like, "Why are you so mean to me?" He's like, "It's better this way if I'm mean." She's like, "Okay, you're a weirdo." Then Charlie and Bella talk for a bit. She's getting a little frustrated living in Forks. Then it goes back to the school, and the cool kids want to go to the beach to surf. So they have a surfing scene, but no one actually surfs. They just put on the surf gear and they say it's too cold to surf. And then then Jacob and his friends come out, and Jacob and Bella walk on the beach, and he gives some exposition on werewolves and vampires, but they're called the cold ones, and just talks about, like, the werewolves and vampires have a pact now that vampires can't cross into werewolf territory and werewolves won't cross into vampire territory. But Jacob's like, "That's a whole lot of hooey and just stuff that my dad tells me." But Bella's like, "That sounds suspicious." So she starts Googling and she Googles like vampires and werewolves lore, and she goes to a local bookstore. I think it's Native American owned, so good for Bella for shopping local. Then it's a sunny day outside and the Cullens are here, and Bella also finds that suspicious, but Jessica's just like, "Oh, Carlisle," and wow, I cannot remember the mom's name. Esme. Carlisle and Esme just take the kids out and they go camping, and everyone's just okay with that, and they're like, "Yep." So, but then Jessica's like, "Oh, Mike asked me out to prom." So Jessica and Angela were going to go prom shopping, and Bella's like, "Oh, I'm going to tag along because I want to go to that local bookstore." So they go dress shopping, and like creepy men hit on them across like the storefront, and they're like, "Ugh." But those creepy men come back, of course, if you know how this story goes. So Jessica and Angela are like, "Oh, let's go get some food." But Bella's like, "Oh, I'm going to go to the bookstore and buy a book." And they're like, "Okay, we'll meet you at the restaurant instead of just going with their friend to get a book. um, so Bella goes to pick up this book and is confronted by the creepy men from earlier that were hitting on her. But lo and behold, Edward comes in his silver Volvo, drives crazily, tells Bella to get in the car, stands off with the creepy men, and are like, and like breathes really heavily, and they're like, he's a little weird, and then gets back into the car, and he drives like a maniac through traffic, being like, oh man, I should have killed those men. And Bella's like, please slow down. He's like, no, I should have killed them. Talk to me about something else so I don't go back and kill them. And she's like, put your seatbelt on. And he's like, you put your seatbelt on. And it's back to normal now. So Jessica and Angela eat without Bella, and they're like, "We called you, but you never picked up, so we thought we should just eat." And Edward's like, "I'm gonna take Bella out for dinner," and they're like, "Okay, cool, have fun, Bella." So Bella and Edward go out to dinner. He doesn't eat anything, but she orders, and he basically tells her in this scene that he reads minds, and she's like, "That's a little weird." And he's like, yeah, I'm super weird. Do you still want to be with me? And she's like, yeah, I'm kind of into it. So yeah. And then he's driving her back to her house and they touch hands. And she's like, wow, your hands are ice cold. And he's like, yep. And she's putting two and two together, folks. She's trying to figure out what's going on with Edward. But they pass the police station and it turns out there's been another attack. And Carlisle's there as well because he's also a coroner as well as a normal doctor. So he checked out the body and they're like, yes, there's another animal attack and we really need to figure out what this animal is. Charlie's kind of sad because it turned out it was the man from earlier that I cannot remember his name. So it was his friend. So he's sad that he passed away. So then later that night, after doing some reading from that book that she bought, she goes through another Google search and just searches like different like things about supernatural events, but not in America. Like she does Egyptian, like Norwegian, but like never like Pacific North. There was a chance for her to click Pacific Northwest, but she just did not click it. But she finally figured out what Edward was. So in the next day, she's looking at Edward in the parking lot. They have a stare off, and then she walks to the woods, and he follows her to the woods. And this is basically where the famous scene where she confronts him, and she's like, "How long have you been 17?" And he's like, "A while." He's like, He's like, "Please say it, just say it." And she's like, "You're a vampire." And he's like, "Yep, I'm a vampire." And then he jumps around, does some like vampire acrobatics, stands in the sunlight to be like, "This is who I truly am." And he's just really, really sparkly and kind of sweaty. And you're like, and she's like, "You look fine." Like, get out of the sun. He's just being really dramatic because Ever's just a dramatic mess. And he throws a stick, but it's like a big branch. But to really show how strong he is, he throws it. And he's like, "Aren't you scared of me?" But Bella is not because she's just like she's in love with this man, and she's just gonna. She's a ride or die kind of girl. So she's like, "Oh no, I'm not scared of you," because she knows that he's not a killer. And there's the line that's, "So the lion falls in love with the lamb." And Bella's like, "What a stupid lamb." And then like, I don't know what Ever says, but he says something about the lion. And then and then they lay on the grass together and stare each other's eyes, and music plays and it's nice. And now they're a couple. And Bella knew three things: is that one, Ever is a vampire; two, there's a part of him that wants to eat her; and three, she is like incredibly in love with him already. So they're the new star couple, and the other Cullens are like, God, why did Edward decide to date this human? But then Edward gives some more exposition about vampires and how they eat, how his family is vegetarians, but by the sense of they eat animal blood, not human blood. But the animal blood doesn't make them as strong as they would they eat human blood, and also if they drink human blood, they go into a frenzy and they cannot stop. It's a whole thing. And Bella's like, okay, cool. Hope that doesn't happen to me. So the Billy and Jacob visit throughout, but Billy and Jacob also pass by Edward, who was visiting, and they have like a weird stare down through the car window. And Billy's like, maybe you shouldn't hang out with them. And Bella doesn't listen to anyone, so she's like, whatever, Billy, I don't care. So Edward takes her to his house, and they make her food, and they make her Italian because her name is Isabel. So they're like, she must love Italian. But it turns out she already ate food beforehand, so they made all that food for no reason, and I don't know who ate it. But we officially meet the fam. They get introductions from Rosalie, Emmett, Jasper, and Alice. We learn about all their powers and everything. Jasper's still a weirdo, like he's the worst Cullen. I will. And they go up to Edward's room, and she's like, "Where's your bed?" And Edward's like, "I don't sleep, so I don't have a bed." And she's like, "Oh, okay." And it's like really weird, awkward silence. They play. She's like, "Wow, you have a lot of CDs." So they play some music. He's listened to Debussy, and they dance. And he's like, "Don't you think I'm a monster?" And she's like, "No, you're totally fine. Like, calm down." And he's like, "Wait a minute." And then he jumps out the window with her on his back and tells her to hang on tight, Spider Monkey. And they race up the trees and they hang out in the trees for a bit. And Bella's lullaby plays in the background. And you're like, do, 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 do. And you're like, okay. So the police are still looking for the wild animal. Let's see. Bella and Charlie talk over a diner. She calls her mom about Edward, but Edward's also in her room then, so she has to hang up the phone with her mom. And they finally have their first kiss, and it's really awkward because it's like too long. But then they start to make out, and Edward shoots his whole entire body away because he's like, no, we can't do this because it's wrong, and you're a human and I'm a vampire, and I will kill you by accident. And Bella's like, I don't really care, because she just doesn't care about anything.
Whatever.
But Edward, she's like, if I die, I die.
Gonna die for the dick.
So Bella finally tells Charlie about she's dating Edward, and they have a date, and while he's cleaning his gun, so he's like holding his gun and being intimidating, but he doesn't know that Edward is literally a vampire and does not care. But Edward's actually really polite to Charlie. He tells him that he's gonna bring Bella home and it'll be all right. And we have the infamous baseball scene that everyone loves, and that the only Muse song I know is from that baseball scene. I think this part, okay, if you had to be anyone in the baseball scene, who would you guys be? You had to pick a character.
I would be Emmett. Oh, sorry.
No,
I guess we didn't answer.
No, I was gonna say we answered this question in our truth or drink, right?
Yeah, I would be Alice.
Yeah.
Emily said Alice, but since
I
now
said
that
Alice.
I can choose as many people as I want, or we can choose the same people.
Yeah.
I'll choose Alice as well.
Lizzy, you would be Emmett.
Yes, but I know Kiana also chose Emmett, so
I could be Emmett or Edward.
okay.
I want to be Rosalie so I can have the best line in the movie, which is "My monkey man."
I guess I'll be Bella, so I don't really have to do anything.
Your hair has to like blow in the wind.
Right.
Like,
Easy though.
It's a really good choice.
Okay, so after the scene, the three evil vampires come gliding in, and they're like, "Hey, we heard you playing baseball. Can we play?" And they're like, "Yeah, a couple of our players are leaving," but then the wind blows, and Bella blows into the tracker's face, which is James. Oh yeah, let me introduce them. The three evil vampires are Laurent, Victoria and James. So James is the tracker, and he's like, human snack. And they're like, no, please don't eat her. We actually care for her a lot. And he's like, I'm gonna eat her later. So they leave, and basically immediately goes to, well, Ever freaks out because he always freaks out. And Bella's like, we have to go back to my house so I can like leave, but also like make sure Charlie's okay. So she goes back to her house to make sure Charlie's okay. She packs up, and then Edward's like, you're gonna have to break his heart in order for him to let you leave. So she does. She says really mean things to him. She says like,
wasn't necessary.
really wasn't necessary.
Wasn't.
She was like, I don't want to be like mom, stuck in this hole. And he's like, oh, okay. And she leaves, and James watches her leave, and he's like, okay, I don't know why I won't follow him now. He doesn't follow them to the Cullens house. He just like waits patiently. So they go back to the Cullens house, and they split off into groups. Rosalie has to be forced to take Bella's jacket so they can leave the scent to a different direction, while Alice and Jasper takes Bella to Phoenix. So that's what they do. They have a whole scene where Rosalie rubs Bella's jacket on a tree, and then James comes and he sniffs the tree. But then he realizes that's not really Bella, and he races the other direction. So their plan worked for like 5 minutes. But Bella and Alice and Jasper are already in the hotel hanging out. So Everett calls Bella and is like, I'm gonna come to you, and then we're gonna go far, far away alone, and everything will be all right. And Bella's like, okay, whatever. She's a little concerned about her safety, but not enough that I feel like she's not like freaking out. She's like, yeah, like there's a vampire trying to kill me, but like whatever. It's just all in a day's life of Bella Swan. But then she gets a call from James, and she hears her mom like screaming her name, and James is like, I need you to meet me at your old ballet place in Phoenix, or your mom will get eaten. And Bella's like, oh no, my mom. So Alice and Jasper are like checking out, and Bella just like leaves through the front door. And she heads on to the like ballet place full of mirrors, and she checks out. She hears some noises. She hears her mom yelling for her name, so she runs over, but it turns out it's not her mom. Surprise, surprise. It's just an old videotape that James stole from her house of Bella saying that she doesn't want to dance because she's like scared, and they filmed that for whatever reason. So basically, James wants to make a snuff film of Bella, of him killing Bella, so to make Edward so enraged that they have like an all-out brawl, because that's just like James's thing. So he tosses her around quite a bit while filming her, and then he like breaks her leg while filming her. And then Everett comes in, he jumps in, he tries to beat up James, but he's not as strong as alone, so he gets thrown through a window, and then James is like, I'm gonna bite Bella, so he bites Bella while Edward is like through the window. But Edward comes, he's like beating up James because he's so angry, and then Carlisle's like, no son, don't kill him, go to Bella. And then they immediately kill James the second later by ripping him to shreds and throwing him into the fire. Because Jasper and Emmett and Alice like rip him to shreds. And then Carlisle's like, dang, Bella's bleeding quite a bit. Don't really know what to do about that. And then they're like, oh no, she also was bitten. And Edward's like, Carlisle, I don't want her to turn into a vampire. And he's like, I guess you're gonna have to suck the venom out, buddy. And so he tries, he sucks the venom out. And Carlisle's like, you gotta stop, Edward. You gotta stop. And they have like a vision of all their past dates, but they've only been dating for like the last month. So it's just like all the scenes we just saw in this movie. And then Bella wakes up in the hospital, and she's like, her mom is in front of her face, and her mom's like, hey, how's it going? She's like, where's Edward? And the mom's like, no, you just fell through a window, because that's the lie that they told her parents, that she tripped down 2 flights of stairs and fell through a window. That's why she has a broken leg. But it doesn't really explain the bite marks on her wrist. But that's for another story. And but everything's fine. Like Edward is okay. He's just sleeping over there. But Bella's like, hey, I want to go apologize to my dad, to Charlie, because I said a lot of mean things to him, which she did. So the mom goes to get Charlie, and she's like, Bella talks to Edward and is like, what happened? And he was just like, yeah, he's dead. James is dead. We killed him. And she's like, cool. Nice. And then she was like, oh, why didn't you let me become a vampire? And he's like, I don't want you to become a vampire because I don't want that life for you. And she's like, okay, cool. And then it cuts to prom because can't forget about prom, guys. And so Edward takes Bella to prom. Charlie's there. I don't know how Charlie is handling the really mean things Bella said to him, but it's okay. She's wearing a classic 2000s dress with like leggings with lace on, on the ends of them, and her boot because she again had a broken leg from James. So they go to the prom in his Volvo, mind you, because this is just a Volvo product placement ad, basically. And Jacob comes out of the woods for no reason, dressed kind of nice. So I don't really know why he's dressed nice. He could have just dressed in his normal clothes. But basically, Billy paid him to say, break up with Edward. But she's like, okay, whatever. And he's like, yeah, I don't really know why he said that. And then he leaves after Edward's like, please leave. Because Edward hates Jacob because he's a werewolf, but he's not a werewolf yet. That's a spoiler for the next movie. Sorry. So they go to prom, they have a good time, everyone's dancing, there's casinos for some reason. I guess they're gambling's okay. But because they're both introverts, they're like, this is a little bit too much for me. They got a little overwhelmed. So they go to the gazebo and they dance to a slow song. And Bella's like, hey, Edward, you should turn me into a vampire right now at prom. And he's like, you really want me to turn you into a vampire right now at prom? She's like, yeah, do it. So he leans in to her neck, but then he's like, no, psych. And she's like, oh, okay. Well, I guess I'll just become old and wrinkled. And he's like, that's the life I want you to live, honey. And she's like, okay, that's not the life I want to live, though. But while they're like dancing and having a romantic moment, Victoria, who's dressed to the nines, who is one of the evil vampires, and she was James's mate, is like staring at them through the window and is like, basically she's like, I'm gonna murder those two. And then she walks away, and that's how the film ends. And that is Twilight 2007.
Such a good job.
Excellent synopsis.
I feel like I just watched it again. That was great.
Wow. What do we want to start with? I'll start with, guys.
There's
Should
so
we
much.
count how many different characters have sexual chemistry?
Oh God, it'd be all of them.
That
They
might
just
be-
How many characters are in the movie?
every single one has sexual tension. Like it's so weird. I don't know how to explain it. Like
And like for what?
Just because
Yeah.
they just really value those pauses in the movie.
yeah, the breathing and the pauses and
Mhm.
the blinking even.
Yeah, the constant lip biting, just like really heavy breathing when
Yes.
it's like a very normal conversation.
We
I
should
just-
talk like that for the rest of the podcast.
Just pause.
No, thank you.
Sure.
No.
I'll just do the Kristen Stewart stammer. Like but I don't know. Okay,
This doesn't have anything to do with
Edward.
Edward.
That was actually a really good imitation.
You should have been Bella in this movie.
Oh man, I could be. Closeted gay woman dates old vampire. You can't tell me that Bella as a character is straight. Sorry, I'm just gonna say it. There ain't no way.
I mean, if she had met another vampire who was just the opposite the same gender, I feel like she would probably fall in love. Like if she met Alice
Yeah.
first, then I think they would have fallen in love.
She saw Alice first.
And she was
Alice
like,
came through the door first. Why didn't she go for that?
because
would've been a better
creepy
movie.
Jasper was right beside her.
Yeah, that's
Like,
true. That would have
he's
turned
got
me
to
off
eat
too. I would have
anyone.
been scared.
God. Yeah, the sexual tension was off the charts with everybody. And I feel like because it's like set in high school, so like I know that Bella and Edward's relationship advances and they like eventually like date longer or whatever and have a kid or whatever. But like for like high school, for just meeting, like there's just too much going on. Like I feel like everyone's a little, not even a little, like everyone's pretty horny in like middle and high school, but it just felt like a little too much for me to watch with my own eyes.
Movie spans what, like 1 month?
Yeah, or probably.
So
or-
yeah, and then at the end he's like, Bella, you are my life now. And I was
Yeah.
like, really?
There's a lot of pressure
Okay.
on that relationship.
Yeah.
considering
Yeah, and the relationship as a whole only lasts like she turns into a vampire when she's what, 19?
Mhm.
So, and
Her
she's
brain's
17 in
not
this
fully
movie.
developed.
Yeah. So they don't really date for that.
2 years, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially considering how old Edward is. That's like a tiny fraction of his life.
Ugh,
True.
But he's been
That's-
waiting for her his whole entire life.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
It just smells so
God.
good, you know?
What do we think Bella's blood smells like? Like if we had to put it in words.
I feel like because they're like carnivores, it's like the biggest, juiciest steak, like the rawest steak they could eat.
I think in the book they say it smells like flowery.
Yeah, I remember it's like a
Ooh.
floral scent.
I have the
But,
book
like,
with me, actually.
Why did you give us a little read?
In case we need to consult the source material.
you can find it. But I don't find floral scents like appetizing. Like they smell nice, but they're not something I want to eat.
Yeah.
She's also compared to wine at times, but I think that's more about the appeal and less about the smell itself.
Yeah, because Bella's supposed to be a hottie. Let's talk about that. She dresses in bowling shirts and like really ugly greens. And everyone's like in love with her. Like
I'd wear that bowling shirt. I'd wear it.
but you would
Yeah.
wear it, I feel like, but you wouldn't wear it over a long sleeve, like
No, probably not.
tacky gray shirt.
Would you wear it your first day at a new high school?
Probably not.
Yeah.
It's a bold first impression.
Yeah.
But it worked. It worked on all the men. At
That's
that
true.
school.
You did.
Every single boy.
They were smitten.
They're like a new girl. I'm sure they've like been with like Jessica and Angela. They probably lived with like grew up with them, so they're like, ugh, we need
Fresh meat.
new
Ugh,
girls.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. It's a vampire movie. But... Yeah, also all the red flags, because I like remember when I read the book as a kid and when I think I only watched the first movie, but I'm not sure if I watched the whole thing or if I just like watched a little bit. But I remember thinking that it was so romantic when I read the book, and then watching him like say like really inflammatory things. I was like, oh, I don't know. Maybe I was just younger.
Yeah,
it just
that
all
like,
happened so fast.
That scared me in watching it too, because I also remember reading like all the books in middle school and like watching the movies. Yeah, and thinking the same thing, like, oh wow. I feel like I had like an inkling that it was like problematic at the time, but I don't think I understood the full extent. And yeah, it was like put to us as like a very young group of like teenage girls that like this is the height of romance, and like no, that wasn't a good impression for us to have. I don't
I
think.
just can't get over the fact that he's literally 100 years old.
Yeah.
For one thing, yeah.
He died during the Spanish influenza.
How do you think that Edward would react to the COVID pandemic?
Oh gosh.
Do you think he would have PTSD?
Yeah, I
He's
feel like it would bring up
anti-mask?
some things.
He
I
would
don't
be
think
anti-mask.
I don't think he'd be anti-mask.
He'd be pro-mask, right?
He knows what a deadly pandemic can do.
I always wondered though, like, I know they explain it more in the future books, but like, why did Carlisle decide to just pick Edward? Like, there are like millions of people dying from the
Yeah.
Spanish influenza, and he was like, that one. That's the one that I want to
Yeah.
like fight.
He was like,
Sexual
you found
tension.
me dying. Like, yeah. So
I
were a
did
lot of
recently
people.
find out that my great-great-grandmother died of the Spanish influenza.
My
leaving
great-grandfather died of the
two
Spanish
young
influenza.
children.
Oh,
Oh my gosh.
Also leaving
So
behind
Carlisle
two
could
young
have
children.
saved
Yeah.
either of them,
I
parents
know.
of children who would grow up without them, and instead picked Edward.
Yeah. He
And
should have gone with my
Edward-
great-grandfather.
I guess for whatever reason, everyone he did it to had to be like a 17 or 18-year-old, like,
Except
Why?
for
which is
Yeah.
weird. Not
That's
explained.
crazy.
I don't understand that.
Yeah.
Esme, right?
Well, that's his
Well,
bride.
but that's his
Yeah.
wife. Yeah, that's different.
He needed a
Okay.
wife.
She can be in her 20s.
Don't be insane.
Early 20s, but still.
Yeah, she wasn't very old either.
Because like Carlisle's supposed to be like the first vampire, right? He's like one of the first ones.
He's been around a while.
He was a part of like the Italian vampires.
The Volturi. Yeah.
Yes, I don't know why I couldn't remember.
Fake Twilight fan in the building.
Yeah,
Very weird.
Carlisle also was 23 when he was turned.
What?
That makes
Mhm.
it
Wait,
like,
he's younger than us?
Younger
So
oh my god.
some of us are still 23, but
Learning
yeah.
that
I'm
I'm
sorry.
older than Carlisle Cullen.
Wait, then why wouldn't they cast an actor who looks...
because it's so creepy.
Yeah, because 23 is too young to have 6 foster children or
Wait.
5.
Well,
Or even
also
be like
the
a
focus
doctor.
is on like, oh, we have to move around all the time because we have to pose everyone else as high school students, or else people will like know that they're the wrong age, and then we have to move when they graduate high school. Why does that not also apply to the 23-year-old that they're posing as a full-fledged medical doctor with like a bunch of experience? Like, that's
He
not.
does though. He says at some point, like, they're getting suspicious because I'm not aging. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, makes sense.
Why didn't they just like dye his hair a little gray or like
Yeah,
add,
like there's things you could
Or
do.
why does
wrinkles?
this not work?
Also, why not pose as college
Yeah.
students instead
Yeah.
of school? They can all
Exactly.
pass college.
Yeah, that makes a lot more
Yeah.
sense.
I would love
And then they'd
to
have
see
so much
Twilight
more
in college.
freedom. Sorry.
No, I agree.
True.
I was thinking the same thing because it's like, I feel like it could just be so much more easily passable, and like you could be staying there for longer because you're like, oh, I'm just getting another degree or something. Like you could be in college as long as you really wanted to.
Mhm.
No one will
Also,
be
at
worried.
what point does CPS say we have 2 unlicensed people taking care of 5 orphan teens? Should they be in the system? Should the parents get foster licenses? At what point will these
Yeah.
teens age out of the system?
If anything, you'd think like a truancy officer would be sent to their house,
Right.
given that they skip school every time.
Every time it's sunny.
Yeah, what? That's not
Like-
allowed.
There would be questions.
Yeah, if they were at my school, we'd have like documentation on like every time the Cullens aren't there. We'd be like, we need to
Oh,
check in
yeah.
on their family.
Oh yeah, at our school they call your parents if you're not there the first minute of the class.
Yeah,
Every class.
but I guess
Well, he's the only town doctor and the only town coroner, so they give him a little bit of freedom, guys.
I can't piss off
Yeah.
the town doctor.
And the
Slash
town
coroner.
coroner.
And a lot of people seem to die in town.
She was
They're
like
really
I
poor
think
people.
what did she say? The population was like 1,300 or whatever in the beginning, but they definitely lost a lot of people from this movie, and they definitely need to change that sign because
Because it was so specific. It was like 1,321.
now it's like
Not
1,317.
anymore. Well, I guess Bella
That's-
moved in and then someone died, so it evens out.
That always confuses me about when small towns have those really specific population numbers on their sign. Like, do you change it every time someone has a baby or moves in or dies? Like, What?
Yeah.
Yeah, good
I guess.
question.
Yeah, why don't they just like estimate it, like approximately? Like,
Mm-hmm.
Seems like a lot of work.
I don't think I would ever live in a small town though.
No.
Might meet a vampire.
A
Yeah.
hot vampire? No, I'm actually more into werewolves, so I would be like, absolutely.
Same.
I read enough Twilight to know where this
Well.
is going.
The werewolves are in the small town too.
That is true.
That's true.
Oh, we have to talk about how Stephanie Meyer used an actual Native American tribe to base her werewolf like.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's
Like-
fucked up.
I don't know if anyone knows this. Like, did she get permission? Did she speak with anyone who
Emily,
was part of the tribe?
why would you ever think?
That would be
Don't-
insane for a white woman to think of doing, right?
Don't be insane.
He did not, I'm pretty sure. I think it's like the Quileute tribe. And so I'm pretty sure she did research on them, but I do not believe that she spoke to like them or like asked for
She didn't-
permission.
she
Yeah,
didn't
I
get
A
think
lot of
that.
inaccuracies,
That's-
apparently.
that's
I think
great.
they
That's great.
boycotted this. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, I think they
Because,
like
like-
boycott Twilight.
Jeez.
yeah. Also, that like Taylor Lautner was not Native American. They probably were like, at least get Native American actors to portray us.
Yeah.
But I think
Yeah.
Billy, the dad, is Native American, though. I'm pretty sure he is.
Yeah, I think he is too. Yeah. I also read that. So it's been scrubbed from Wikipedia now. It used to be on Wikipedia, but I can't find it anymore. But I read that when they were casting this movie, the director, Catherine Hardwicke, she had like a lot of ideas for like making the Cullens more diverse. Like I don't remember exactly, but I think like one of them was she wanted to cast like Alice as like a Japanese girl. And Stephanie Meyer was like, no, that doesn't match my vision. They all have to be white.
Oh my god.
He's like,
No.
diversity? No.
No.
Not here.
That
Not
would
in
even-
the vampire world.
that would make more sense though if Carlisle's picking up like kids from around the world in different places. Like
Yeah.
that would
Ooh.
make sense.
No, he only turns white
No,
kids.
it's just
actually.
like, yeah, he's
Carl-
actually
That was her vision.
super racist.
Yeah, Carlisle racist? Confirmed.
Do we even
He
get the
sees, like-
backstory of like where, like, I know we know Jasper's like a Confederate soldier or whatever, but like, do we even get the
Yeah.
backstory of like where the other people come from?
Rosalie was like from the 1920s, and she actually was like sexually assaulted by the person she was supposed to marry, right?
Her story's
Yeah.
dark.
I
Yeah.
remember this now.
And
yeah.
then she was turned into
a
a
lot of trauma
vampire.
in these books.
Yeah.
Like even watching the movie, I did not remember all the scenes that I was like, oh god, okay, sorry.
Yeah, well, she just
No,
like
you're-
she gets turned into a vampire, and then she ends up killing them. But I don't think does
Right.
Carlisle change her? Because she was like almost dying, I think.
I think he does change.
Yeah.
And then she immediately goes to kill all the men, and then he's like, maybe not kill people anymore. And she's like, nah, that was it. I just wanted to get that done.
As
I'm like,
she
that's
should.
fair.
Reasonable.
Yeah.
But I don't remember Alice's.
Alice is
Very
also pretty
good one.
sad. She was like, she had like,
Names.
yeah, she was like sent to like a mental institution because she was sort of, she like almost was psychic when she was like
They
a
had
human, like-
premonitions.
yeah. So like
Mm.
her parents or somebody thought she was like crazy. So they sent her away. And then I don't really remember how she actually turns into a vampire after that. But I just remember her.
James, like finds her somehow, and she smells really good to him. She's like his
Oh.
Bella, so he but then somebody else like turns her into a vampire so that James won't kill her.
Oh, I totally
I think
forgot about
that's
that.
it. She like has
Oh.
another vampire
Oh.
friend who's like, oh shit, like this guy's coming to kill you. And turn you into a vampire.
Wow. Tell me why I read all 4 books and I couldn't tell you a single thing that happens in any of them.
I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, I
couldn't-
don't.
I can't remember a single thing. I
Yeah,
know I
I
read
only-
them.
I only
All that
remember
to be
Jasper's.
said. Well, he was the Confederate soldier, right?
Well, he was a Confederate soldier,
Which,
and
like,
then he was gonna
questionable
help.
choice on behalf of the author as well.
Well, he was.
She
he
could have
was
easily
going to
just said
help-
soldier. That's all she had to do. He was a veteran. He was a soldier.
He was going to help like 3 women, and then they kidnapped him and then turned him to a vampire. And then they made him like basically become like a one-man killing machine, but also like just making like an army full of fledgling like young vampires, and he had to like control them, and that's why he was so bloodthirsty when they first came. He came with the Cullens because he's been with vampires wild for so long, since 1865, because again he was a Confederate soldier.
That's like a huge Dracula reference. Like actually, like the three women, like that's exactly what happens in Dracula. Is like Dracula's sort of like trying to like seduce this guy, but then like the author also added like, oh, Dracula has like three wives who are also like helping with this, so like no homo in Dracula. Because it's like very, very sexual in the books, and you're sort of like, oh,
Right.
what's going on here? But then there's also like the three vampire wives, just to like make things clear.
Don't worry,
Right.
he's straight.
He's not gay, guys.
He's not
He
gay.
does want to bite that man's neck, just a little nibble.
Just a little bit.
God, can we talk about how at the prom, Edward's like about to like go ham on her neck, and the tension is just like, ugh, not at the school prom. And even if he didn't, like the fact that he was like kissing up on her neck at the school prom, come on, Edward, restrain yourself.
Appropriate.
Let's not do that. Yeah.
All
They were
those
your
couples
school
conveniently left though, for like just to give them privacy.
They just couldn't be around it anymore. They were like, I can't see this.
Probably knew like this is the creepy couple. They're about to be weird.
Yeah, I'm
Go
sure
back
they
inside.
know of like Edward and Bella, and they're like, ugh, they're gonna be weird again. And then they walked away.
Gosh. Yeah.
And then Victoria just watching them.
Yeah, Victoria's a voyeur.
Menage a trois.
Except for okay, wait. I just realized that Edward can read minds. So why wasn't he like, whoa, Victoria's just like around the corner?
Yeah.
Because he's too busy sucking up on Bella's neck.
But he read minds from like miles away, but like Victoria is 2 feet. He's like,
I
don't
guess,
know who
like,
that is.
Does
He
he have
was
to like
too
know
busy
that the person
sucking
is
up
there
on
to read their
Bella's
mind?
neck. I'm
Like,
not
I don't
sure.
know. I don't know what the mechanics are.
Bella's flowery blood neck was overpowering his mind reading.
He was distracted.
He was busy.
Oh, man.
Can we talk about how Susie Crabgrass was in this movie and I had no clue? Did you guys ever watch Ned's Declassified?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think I made the connection though.
That's okay. I know I watched that too much, but I was a little bit shocked.
She was like Ned's crush, right? Like Ned was like
Yeah.
in love with her.
Yeah.
Susie Crabgrass. That's a great name for like your middle school crush.
Yeah. It's like very good girl next door name. Like they nailed it. And Anna Kendrick.
Yeah, can we talk about how like Bella's horrible to her human friends? Like, I don't know why
How are they
they're friends.
friends? Yeah, like how are they friends at all? They like talked to
I
her
mean,
once and then
Don't they
now
kind
they're
of
friends.
like fall out later? Because
Jessica makes a speech at the wedding.
oh,
They get invited to
I
the wedding.
forgot about that.
But
They
that's a
get-
solely movie thing. I think in the books they do sort of like
Oh.
they sort of stop talking to her.
Well, I
face,
know
but-
that Jessica and them fall out, but I think she's like better friends with Angela's character than her. Like they actually like maintain a connection. But yeah, like it's weird that she's like they're like having fun without her, and she's like, wow, I kind of want to be having fun with humans, but also I have a vampire boyfriend that I love way more. So
She doesn't put any effort into those friendships.
No.
yeah,
Literally zero.
yeah,
She
I don't
just-
know. Go on, Lizzy.
I was gonna say she just like compliments their dresses and then like compliments Jessica's boobs at prom, and that's it. I guess she's like a good hype woman, but
I thought
that's
she was
about it.
complimenting
Yeah.
the necklace, not her.
No,
I know.
No. It was definitely the boobs.
Yeah, I agree.
This is a good example of Bella and Edward needing any boundary with each other because it's like completely feasible that she could still be friends with her human friends and also still be dating Edward, at least in the first book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean,
just-
she like comes back in the second book because she's like, Edward's gone. I guess I should hang out with my human friends. And they're like, wow, where you been? You've been gone for so long. And then she immediately ditches them for like the werewolf crew again. So like, I don't even know why they invite her to things. Like, I would never invite Bella to things because I knew she would not show up, you know?
I know. She's like, I can't believe my friends are being so mean to me. You haven't spoken to them.
It's like, well, yeah.
But also they ate without her. Can we talk about that scene where
that was weird. They did not look for her. Like,
Yeah.
Where was the concern? Like,
it was dark in the city.
Friend
Like,
disappears in an unfamiliar city at night. You don't go looking for her.
You don't call her like police dad to like.
although
be like,
also, like, how did that much time pass? Because like they were still in the dresses. I presume they had to like get dressed, like buy the dresses. Like there was time in there, and all she did was buy a book, and then she had that like horrific scene with the men, and then he picked her up and sped away in the car. So like, where did all the time go? Where they had time to like wait for her? I mean, maybe they just didn't wait at all, but
they
like
just lied and they're like,
supposedly they waited, made a bunch of calls to her, ate a full meal, and then were like leaving the restaurant.
Yeah,
They called her once.
How did that happen?
Wait, they also left. They didn't even like try to stay at the restaurant they were gonna meet.
No, they were like ready to go.
No, they were about to like fully go home. I thought that too though, because when they were trying the dresses on, it was daylight, like fully like afternoon time.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm just gonna pop over to the bookstore and grab this book. She's in the bookstore, it's still daytime, but then when she leaves the bookstore, it's pitch black nighttime. So either she was just, I mean, and that's feasible. Maybe she was just browsing and it took a while because that happens in bookstores. But it just felt like the timing was off. And then it was like pitch black, and she's like, down this dark alley is the way I'll go. And there's like a lighted sidewalk in front of the restaurant, which leads me to believe there's probably more sidewalks that are lit nearby the bookstore. I don't know. Not to victim blame because it sucked and men are bad. But
Bella
the timing
doesn't
didn't
make a single good decision.
Bella doesn't have any brain cells. She literally just like she just like vibes. And
that's why Edward can't read her thoughts. He just doesn't have any. Her head is empty. That's my theory.
Horny cells.
Her brain is super horny. But she really is. She like gets unbearably horny like throughout the next books. Like you're like, please calm down.
This man appears in her room, who knows how, admits to watching her sleep, not just this night, but many nights before.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'll be making out with you now.
Right now.
Come
like,
on,
no,
brother.
I don't need a minute to react to that fact that you've been breaking into my home and watching me sleep. We're just gonna do this. Thanks.
Into my bed you come.
But Edward's the saint. He's just like, no, we can't, because I'm a vampire. And she's like,
Mormon.
Yeah.
True. That was funny though, where he was just like,
it's like, you know, like
you're horny.
You know those like cane things where like you just like pull the person off stage. You know that from like that's what I felt like. He was just like someone pulled him away.
Whoa. Da, 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 da. Yeah, gosh. There's so many other bad decisions. Like everything. He was just asking all these intrusive questions about her life. She was just answering them. I just like, because even before she finds out he's a vampire or even has a conversation with him, like if you were to put yourself in her shoes, you walk into biology class, a guy acts like a dick, your lab partner acts like a dick, and you're probably like relieved not to see him again. Like you might be like, why was he doing that? But you're probably like, whatever, he's not here. Like life goes on. But she was like, I must know more. Like what?
But why?
You can't stay away.
Just like Jacob.
Oh, true.
Bella's eggs.
Is there like a reason? Like, I can't remember. Like, did Bella like have vampire in her from the beginning, or was she just fully human?
She's fully
Like,
human.
I was just like, maybe there was a reason she was so in tune with that, but no, I guess
No,
not.
she was just like really weirdly special. Like when she becomes a vampire, she gets like a cool shield power, and they're like, wow, this is probably one of the best powers ever. And she's like, yeah. And also she's just like stronger and faster than everyone, like when she becomes a vampire. And it's not because she's a new one, it's just because she's just stronger and faster than everyone.
And they don't ever explain like why she's like that, right? Like why she's like they can't read her thoughts and she smells good. Like that's not something they care to tell us.
Why would we need to know that information?
I don't know. I just thought
Why
it
would
might
we need to
help
know
the story.
background
But
about?
I'm not the author. I'm not Stephanie Meyer, so
That'd be funny if there's like a
knows?
chlorian reveal, like in Star Wars, like Stephanie Meyer has her own like scientific like blood version of like that in this world. Bella has a really high midi-chlorian count.
That's the answer.
Yeah.
Wasn't Twilight like a no? 50 Shades of Grey was a Twilight
Fanfic.
fanfic.
Yeah.
Never mind. Why did I have that mixed around? I was like, wasn't Twilight a 50
Really?
Shades of Grey fanfic? And I was like, that makes sense. That's why it's so horny. And now I'm like, oh, wait.
No, that's why she had was it E.L. James? Isn't that
E.L. Grey. No, I think you're right. E.L. James. I think you're right.
That's why she had enough material from her fanfic to write such a horny book. She was like, well, Twilight's super horny anyway.
Yikes.
Wait, I'm seeing the parallels between Christian Grey and Edward now.
Yeah, especially on screen, Edward.
Yeah. It's all clicking for me now.
I think oh, go on.
I was just gonna say I've read all the 50 Shades of Grey books. I'll say it. I've read them all. There's no healthy relationships in that one either.
I actually haven't read it. My mom had it on audiobook and she listened to it on the audiobook.
The audiobook?
She listened to our audiobook. I think she only got through the first one because the lady's voice sounded too much like a child and it really freaked her out. So
Oh.
and then
Yeah, that would
I
do
wonder if
it.
they did that on purpose. Thought it would be cute.
Bam. Are they good?
They're okay.
I've read the first one. I actually read it for a class.
Really?
Where we also
What
read Twilight in
class?
class. It was I took it when I was studying abroad. It was like the history of the romance novel. And so it started with like Pride and Prejudice and then it ended with 50 Shades of Grey.
That is very interesting.
Yeah. And we also read Twilight in the
Interesting.
middle. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. We talked about why women are attracted to vampires.
Why are they attracted to vampires?
I think the idea was that like, or one of the ideas was that like, oh, like women are always taking a risk when they marry a man, like over periods of time or like in history because like, you know, he's the one who has the power and is like stronger than you usually. So the ideal fantasy is like, oh yeah, like he's like a monster, but he's also like a super gentleman. Like he could kill you and suck your blood, but he won't.
I hate that for society, but it makes a ton
I
of
love
sense.
my men to almost kill me, but also be really gentle. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh God.
He's mean in public, but with me, he sucks blood in public, but with me in private, he's a real sweetheart. Wow, that's interesting.
You know, I've never read Pride and Prejudice before or seen any movie. I don't really know what it's about.
Better than 50 Shades of Grey and
Oh.
Twilight.
Probably.
I guess I should give it a read then. Wow.
Lizzy and Gwen and Isabel, do you guys have stuff you wanted to talk about in the movie that we didn't hit?
Oh.
You don't have to come up with any.
Prepared.
No, you don't have to. I just want to make sure we get to your stuff if you had anything to say.
I sort of want to talk about the fashion because okay, here's my question for you guys. Do you think the Cullens are well dressed? Like taking into context like the time that this is like 2007, 2008, like were they stylish for that time?
I would say no because they would just wear all white like all the time. But like
It
it's
was
not
definitely the
flattering.
vibe the movie was trying to portray.
Yes.
I don't know if they succeeded.
I kind of thought so. I thought they looked nice. Like I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't say like well dressed, but I was like, oh, they look okay. Like they look well put together, I guess.
They didn't look as bad as Bella Swan.
They weren't wearing bowling shirts.
I
That's true.
liked Bella's bowling shirt.
I said that too.
Okay, her
Yeah.
bowling shirt is fine. I just don't think for a first day of school outfit.
She didn't want to make an impression.
I think that
She
made an
wasn't-
impression, though. An
But
impression.
she wasn't out for popularity, or she didn't even want to be there. I don't know. She didn't want to be anywhere.
Maybe she didn't want attention, so she's like, "Oh, I'll wear this super ugly shirt, and then nobody will talk to me." And then it had the opposite effect.
Yeah, all the boys are like, I love that super ugly shirt, man. Let me take a picture of it.
Yeah.
I did really like the Cullens like coordinated baseball outfits, though.
Yeah.
Yes,
Nice.
that
I
scene.
They
like
did a great
those.
job with that.
That
Wow.
scene they are stylish to me. I would say like the beginning scene when they all walk in, I'm not
Yeah.
impressed with those outfits, but the baseball scene, they really nailed like the athleisure look before it became
I agree.
popular.
When Bella went to their house, they were like nicely
Yes.
dressed. Like Esme had a nice get up on. I don't remember the rest of them actually. I was like, Esme looked nice.
But no,
don't
I
remember the rest.
I think the first scene doesn't do a good job of showing how hot they are. Like they walk in slow motion, and you're like, oh, they look nice, but they're supposed to be like so hot that everyone's like, oh god, they're too attractive. We can't look at them in the eye. But I was just like, if they showed up in my high school, I'd be like, oh, it's the weird Cullen family group that like sleeps with each other because that's what they do.
Well, and I'd be like, why do they look like they're 25 years old? But I guess that's just like movies in general portraying high school kids. So maybe it's
Yeah.
not specific to them.
I think it also doesn't help that everybody else in the movie is super attractive too. So it's like they don't look any more attractive than like
That's true.
Bella.
Yeah.
and
That's true.
Because they're supposed to be super, super hot. And I was like, I mean, they're hot.
They're okay. Yeah, they're hot.
Yeah.
I thought that the evil vampires were like maybe not the James guy, but like Victoria and what's the other one's name?
Laurent.
Laura. Yeah, I thought he was nicely dressed. Like
Yeah.
he like
Yeah, they were more stylish than the Cullens. They were
Yeah.
like,
Agreed.
Which is strange because they like steal people's clothes, like dead people's clothes. So how are they dressed so nice, you think?
They have a lot of
That's-
clothes to choose from.
That's how they choose their victims. Like, oh, I like your clothes. Probably the same size.
That's why
like
they
that.
showed me. Like, hey, I like your shirt. That would look better on me.
Yeah.
Victoria can't wait to get her hands on Bella's bowling shirt.
That's why she didn't kill her at prom because she's like, I have to wait until she has that bowling shirt on.
Yeah, you would not want to steal that prom dress.
No.
No.
Prom dress was hideous.
No, it was really bad.
I mean, I feel like everyone's dresses were kind of hideous, but also that was like 2007.
No, Anna Kendrick's dress and her other friend's dress were okay. Like they at least looked more prom-y.
That is true. Also, but Bella just did get thrown about and smashed into walls. So she probably didn't have enough time to be like, yeah, this is the dress I want to wear.
But there's no excuse for wearing leggings.
Yeah, period.
She had a
Those were
boot
awful.
on.
She doesn't need to wear the leggings. The leggings didn't help the boot. They were above the boot.
Yeah, didn't make sense.
Like the boot was a no negotiable, but she had the Converse. Okay, I guess I understand the sneakers because she had the boot, so I'll let that go. But the leggings and the dress, it's like, no.
It's a no from me.
It's just Christmas prints. It's like the ugliness of a Christmas Prince dress where you're like waiting for the build up for the final scene, and then it's just an ugly ass dress and Converse, and you're like, oh man.
Or
Really?
Princess for Christmas when they put Katie McGrath in that horrible, horrible dress.
Oh god, that was awful.
And you're like, Katie McGrath is beautiful. How did you make her look ugly? That's impossible. But yet they did in that dress.
They have
Anything?
teams of costume designers, and that's what they chose for Bella.
Well, you guys said that the wigs get worse, and or Kiana is saying the wigs and the makeup get worse. Do the outfits get worse too in the other movies?
I don't think so.
I actually like Bella's wedding dress. I will admit that. I think her wedding dress is actually like both pretty and it looks weirdly like something that Bella would wear. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like they all dress nice. It's just that like they go because you know how this movie was just covered in like green tint for the
Yeah.
whole entire time.
yeah.
The rest of the movies don't have that weird green tint. So like I guess they do the same makeup, but they just all look kind of horrible. Like the vampires look sickly, where you're like, they don't look attractive. They just look like they really need to go to the hospital. And you're like if Carlisle, like you're like, oh, I want Carlisle's a doctor. Like I want him to be my doctor. Like in the later movies, I would be like, no, please get that
No, thank
freaky
you.
man away from me. The 23-year-old away from me.
I mean, we could still be together.
That is true. They just give like I also really like Emmett, and they give Emmett such a horrible like haircut / wig. It's just like
My monkey man.
I hate it.
Well, I don't have anything else to say. Should
Wait,
we-
before we go, can
Oh.
we all say what team we were on when we were children?
Jacob.
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 I had absolutely no interest in the romance aspect of Twilight.
Wait.
I just wanted to be a vampire.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, which part were you interested in?
Yeah. I liked the fantasy, the lore. It was cool.
Makes sense.
Did
Yeah.
you read a lot of vampire books after this one then?
No.
Oh.
Because, once like something is established, like vampires sparkle in the sun and they can choose to eat animals instead of human blood, I wouldn't want to like skip over to another vampire series where all the rules are different. I wouldn't like that.
True.
That makes sense.
I actually did do that, and it was kind of confusing because I was like,
Wait, what series was it?
I read a lot of vampire series after this. I read one, the like House of Night or whatever. It was like The Chosen, Betrayed, where they all get like a mark. And if you have this mark, you're like a fledgling vampire, but then you could also die before you reach maturity, like a horrible, painful death. And one of the main character was like kind of annoying, so I could not stand her. But her best friend was really awesome. And then she dies the horrible, painful death. And and the author like really just goes in on that description. And I was like, I cannot read this series anymore. So I stopped, and I don't know how it ends. But I do know the best friend comes back to life as like an undead monster. So I could read it back to get that, but I was like, I don't like the main character enough to continue this book. And I also read
that makes sense.
Also read the one where there's like half vampires, full vampires, and like the half vampire is protecting her best friend who's like the princess of vampires. I cannot remember what
Sounds
that
familiar, but I don't.
There was a movie, Vampire Academy. I read.
Yes. Okay. I was like, that sounds.
I
familiar.
loved Vampire Academy. I never finished it because again, characters died that I was like, ugh. And then I got bored of it because also that was near the end of the vampire craze. But I loved Vampire Academy more than I loved Twilight because I actually cared about those. And the romance, I actually don't know about the romance. I need to read it again to be like, I think the romance was better in that one then. But yeah, those are the three.
I read all the True Blood novels, which is probably one of the most, like, you guys have never read them, I don't think, so you don't realize how embarrassing it is. But if you had read it, you'd be super embarrassed that I read all of them. I think there's about like 14.
Oh my god.
It's sort of almost like Twilight, but like if it hadn't been written by a Mormon. I think it's earlier than Twilight though. I think she started writing them before Twilight, but it's just like completely like unhinged, like just as if like almost like Bella if she was like a little bit funnier, but also made even worse decisions. And the vampires are like way more evil, so yeah.
Wow.
So obviously, I highly recommend.
Is it True Blood?
Isn't that a show too?
Yeah,
Yeah,
isn't it super
yeah.
horny?
Yeah, I'd heard of the show.
Yes, it is. Like, I haven't actually watched the show yet, but I cannot imagine like how they turned the books into a show, even like an HBO show. I'm like,
Ooh.
I think one of my people I knew from high school invited me over and we watched an episode of True Blood, but I had never seen True Blood before. So, and it was like 7th season. So I was like, who are these characters? He's just like, shh, just watch the show. And I'm like, I don't know what's going on. Why am I even here? But it was really like intense when I watched it. And I was like, maybe I should actually read these books. I think I checked it out from the library and I read like the first chapter and then I was like, I don't know, man. And then turned it back.
yeah, they're like addicting trash. I would describe them as like just kind of that.
I would probably love them right now. Like I would probably go through them right now, honestly.
Wait, Lizzy, were you team Edward or Jacob?
Yeah, I was team Edward. I didn't want to say anything because everyone else was like team Jacob, and like I now realize, yeah, he's probably like the better man between the two. Besides the whole like falling in love with a child thing.
Yeah, they were both problematic, so it's fair.
Yeah.
No, but I was so team Edward. Just like I don't know, the pea coat, the Volvo, everything. I bought it all.
To be fair, the age difference between Jacob and Renesmee is far less than the age difference between what's his name and what's her name, Edward and Bella.
That's actually a good point.
Like 16 years versus 100 years. So
I mean, Bella is still underage.
Yeah.
17, so it's
good point. I have one more question. Have you guys ever heard of Kiana's werewolf book that she wrote as a kid?
No.
Kiana wrote this not an entire book, but like a little snippet of like people going to like a college, and then it turns out like she's like, first off, she's rooming with a guy, like the protagonist is rooming with a guy. What will they do? And also, is she a werewolf or is the guy the werewolf?
She's a werewolf, but he's a werewolf hunter.
Right.
Because his family got killed by werewolves.
I want to talk to whoever was in charge of room assignments.
They misspelled the girl's name, so they thought it was a guy's name when they roomed together. It was a whole thing. I had it all in my mind. When I was 14, going through my supernatural phase. But yes, and she had a best friend who was a vampire.
That's what it was. I was like, I knew there was a vampire in there. It was good. I think you guys should read it.
That's great.
Yeah, I want to read it.
Yeah, can you send this to us?
I hope there's like there's only one bed trope in it, because that seems like a perfect opportunity. Oh,
I'm so, there wasn't there's only one bed. I did make them have 2 beds, but he did almost see her naked. I did do that trope.
Yeah, you did do that.
Walk into the bathroom, and you're like, oh, I'm so sorry.
Classic.
It's like happens on Sweet Life on Deck.
Does it?
Yeah. When they first start, Zach is sharing a room with a girl. And
Debbie Ryan, right?
Debbie
leaves
Ryan.
the bathroom while I don't think she's changing, but like her wig is off or something. She didn't cut her hair. She's just wearing a wig over her long hair. And he walks out and she yells at him and she says, "Don't you knock before leaving the bathroom?" I just thought that was funny. As a child.
Yeah, that's exactly what happens, honestly. I actually just got it from Sweet Life on Deck.
Fair enough. I definitely wrote a story when I was a kid that was full-on plagiarism of one of those American Diaries books.
I also wrote a story that was full-on plagiarism. And I just like didn't know until it was.
Didn't you turn it into your teacher? They made
I thought it was like a novel idea, and she was like, "This is incredible! Like, you're amazing." And then somehow, some adults in my life realized that it was fully plagiarized, and I was like, "Oops."
Did all of us like as like teens go through a phase where you would read a book you liked and then try to like emulate it in your own writing? Because I also like that book that was like the I am message book where they would like talk in I am. I like
TYL.
yeah. I like
That book was
attempted to
really
write a book like that after I read that series. I was like, I
think
can
I
do
did
it.
too, but it was all like Facebook message. Or, like, Facebook comments, I think. So it wasn't a very
Oh my
long
god.
book.
That sounds
It
great.
was all just some like commenting on each other's Facebook photos. This is when Facebook was a much bigger deal.
It was
Facebook was all the rage.
all the rage.
Yeah, but I'm thinking about going back to that supernatural one.
You
I'm
gotta
not
flesh
sure.
it out.
It's
I really
have,
think
like,
you have something there.
yeah, I mean maybe.
Should we rate it, ladies? Should we rate
Yeah.
the movie? I had fun. I'll give it like an 8 out of 10. I had a good time. It was like, I don't know, 8 out of, I've been bad with those lately, haven't I? 8 out of 10 Volvos, silver Volvos. It was fun. I had a good time. It was like corny and like horny, but it was fun. It brought me back. I would like definitely watch the rest of the series. Like it like made me want to watch the rest of it because I haven't seen any of the other ones. So I'm like, I'd watch the rest.
Yeah, I definitely think it does a good job of like tugging on our nostalgia to the point where you're like, I need to finish watching this whole series or like read a book, like Breaking Dawn next, and you're like, I don't really want to spend my time doing that.
I'll
But
give
yeah.
it 7 lacy leggings out of 10. Because all of the just horrible red flags that we were supposed to read as true romance just really bothered me this watch through because I haven't seen it in a long time. But I did very much enjoy myself. So middle of the road.
Yeah, I think I'll give it 8 out of 10 Jacob Blacks in that horrible wig. Because again, I had a good time. Even though this is the third time I've seen this movie in the last year, even though I haven't seen Twilight in like years before now, it's still fun to watch. It's still nice, especially with the friends, with the buds. So yeah, 8 out of 10. Now it's your guys' turn to rate.
I was just gonna give it a 10 out of 10, but now that feels great.
No, you give it a 10 out of 10.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I have also watched this movie like 3 times in the past year, which is probably more than I've watched any other movie this past year.
10 out of 10 what, Gwen?
10 out of 10 apple hands.
Oh man, I was gonna say
pumpkin like as his apple hands, or I tried to.
as the hands.
Yeah, I had this vision
With
in
an
my head. It was gonna look so good. It was gonna be, like the hands holding the apple, and then it came out like shit. It was really hard to carve into.
That's really hard. Very ambitious.
I read an interview with the hand model whose hands it is, like the person who posed for that picture, and apparently I don't know, I guess she probably can't get recognized, but she's like taking pictures with people where they're like asked her to hold her
How did they
hand.
know?
And she's like been to Twilight conventions and had like signed stuff for people, so she became a full-on celebrity.
I mean,
Wow.
good for her, I
I
guess.
didn't know that.
Those apples.
Well, give it 6 out of 10 Confederate soldiers.
Yep.
It would be higher if it was just a standalone movie, but I really hate when movies diverge from the books too far, so that brought down the score.
That's fair.
Kind of like a book purist,
Mhm.
really annoying.
I would give it 10 out of 10 spider monkeys. I actually love this movie. I don't love the other movies in the series, but I like this one. I like the fact that it weirdly feels like an indie movie. I love the blue tones. I can't get enough of that. Some of it's the nostalgic, but also like, I don't know, I sort of dig the music. I sort of dig the fact that the camera is never really steady.
Never. It gave it some charm.
Yeah. Yeah.
For sure.
I forgot to mention that one time I was out of town, like on a family trip, and I saw at a random mall, and I told you guys this, but the actor who played Carlisle was just signing autographs at this mall.
Did you get his autograph?
No, because the line was so long, and we
Aw.
weren't supposed to be there for that long. But I did take a picture of him from very far away. But like people had like Team Carlisle shirts, and I'm like, was that a team that I just did not know?
Was that an option? Because I'll
hope
choose
not.
Team Carlisle then, I guess.
I mean, he's 23, Emily. So
old.
Well, he's also
yeah.
like 1,000, right? So that's even
Yeah.
worse.
But
He's
yeah.
also married.
Well, he'll just have to make.
May wasn't signing autographs with him. Where was she?
Yeah.
True.
Taking a break. They have to spend a long time together, like eternity.
That's true.
Yeah.
I'll just be a little.
Do you think they have
intermission.
an open marriage?
I hope
Oh
so.
yes.
I want to be part of it. Let me in. I'll apply.
I don't
Okay.
know. None of those relationships seem healthy, so I'm sure that they're all.
Oh.
But if I were to choose one,
Yeah.
I feel like Emmett and
Well-
Rosalie seem the most like. If I had to guess, I would say they have an open relationship. Alice and Jasper, Bella and Edward, closed.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Ellen
for
Edward
sure.
would definitely be closed.
I think Jasper would be close because he's a Southern gentleman. He doesn't, and he's like a better soldier. I feel like-
I don't know if anyone else would want to join in.
Yeah, no. I feel like Alice would be like, I guess I just have to take one for the team and just keep it closed. Anyway,
all right. Well, thanks for being on our podcast,
yes, thank you, friends.
Oh,
It was
thank you.
fun.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
and thanks for watching Twilight with us. That was fun.
Anytime.
Literally.
We- We'll watch. We will watch more. I see it in my future now that I like got a taste and like
Yeah.
kind of want to watch the other ones now. I'm ready. So.
Okay, see you tomorrow for New Moon.
Sounds great.
It actually
Which-
took us like months to watch New Moon after we finished watching Twilight. We actually stopped
took us-
halfway and then had to come back to it.
I mean, it
It's not like
probably
20
took us
minutes.
6 months to get through all 5 movies.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is what we'll do. We'll just all take off work for the rest of the week, and each day we'll watch a new Twilight.
Sounds
Okay.
good.
Quitting
Sounds
my
fun.
job this week, so
Oh, nice.
I'm in.
Great.
Amen.
Perfect. See you tomorrow then.
No way. Don't tell my boss I haven't told her yet.
Hopefully your boss doesn't watch our podcast.
Yeah, I don't think she does.
You don't
Damn.
tell your boss.
Sorry.
We got a lot of views on our Stanley Tucci podcast. She could be one of the ones who were calling us scamming.
Mhm.
True.
You never know.
Never know.
One can hope.
Okay.
Okay. Well,
Goodbye.
wait.
Nope.
No, you can go. You can
Yeah, I
go.
get it,
We'll
get it.
sign
No.
off.
No, we have to
please.
sign off. We have to
You can
say
sign off.
like and subscribe our video to our channel.
Follow
Comment
us.
below.
Don't say
Oh,
for
do you guys-
scammers, but you can
Yeah.
comment below. Some nice things.
Also, you got friends. Do you want to plug anything? You can plug your Instagram or your Twitter or anything to be like, follow me on Twitter if you want. Laughs.
Do not follow me on Twitter.
Okay, don't follow them on Twitter. They are anonymous. Do not look up their names. Yes.
Unless you're Isabel's boss, then please go ahead.
Please do not perceive me.
Yeah. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify. I think that's it. That's all.
That's nice comments. That make us
Yes,
feel good.
Comments would be
Like our
great.
videos. Tell us we're pretty.
Yeah. And this was
Um,
What did
what did we just
watch?
watch?